LEIGHTDICKEY.com. Do you have an event or occasion coming up that could use a special touch? Perhaps a wedding, a production, a show? Good! Then you're in luck. Hayley Moores is who you're looking for. Hayley is a makeup artist in the Toronto, Ontario area, specializing in bridal, glam, natural, and special effects. She's incredibly talented, professional, easy to work with, and has a personality that is second to none. To book Hayley Moores today, follow her on Instagram at mad_milash, that's MAD_MILASH, or email her at madmilash, again, that's MADMILASH @gmail.com. Book Hayley Moores today, you'll be glad you did. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. Do you find yourself reminiscing on what life was like when you were younger? Do your favorite songs, movies, and TV shows instantly take you back to a simpler time? Great! Then you're in the right place. Join me, Leigh Dickey, on my new web series and podcast, Yo Nostalgia, where I cover everything you grew up with. From films and toys to fads and trends, Yo Nostalgia has it all. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever podcasts are available. Follow along on social media at Yo Nostalgia Show to keep up on this time-traveling trip. Yo Nostalgia, breathing new life into your memories, available everywhere now. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. Do you enjoy good conversation? Are you a person with many passions? Perfect. Then the Beats and Speaks podcast is for you. Join me, Leigh Dickey, every Friday for stories and interviews about everyday life with everyday people about everyday things. Everyone has a story, and I just want to help them tell it. The Beats and Speaks podcast, your everyday life, everyday stories, everyday people, comedy and entertainment audio joyride. Subscribe and download on LeightDickey.com, Leigh Dickey TV on YouTube, and your favorite podcast app. The Beats and Speaks podcast, available everywhere now. LeightDickey.com. LeightDickey.com. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Leigh Dickey here. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Today, I figured we would try something, just a little experiment. Call me Bill Nye, the audio science guy, if you want. But I'm going to try and record an entire episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast in my outdoor office here at a local sort of civic center, not that far from my house. I'm going to try and record it with a mask on the entire episode right here, a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. I'm going to try and record it with a mask on the entire thing, all right? So that is coming up right after I tell you where to find the Beats and Speaks podcast. Of course, brand new episodes of the Beats and Speaks podcast are released every single Friday on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever podcasts are available. We're on YouTube as well under Leigh Dickey TV, as well as my official website, LeightDickey.com. That's right, new episodes are released every single Friday at all your favorite podcast apps and players of choice. Of course, all the information is down in the description below, so please do comment, like, share, subscribe, rate us there, leave us reviews, and all that fun stuff. If you want to get in touch with me or the show, email me at LeighTDickey@gmail.com or follow along on social media at LeighTDickey. All right, now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, let's get into the main event, get into why you are here, and that is me trying to record an entire episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast with a mask on. All right, coming up right after this. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to attempt to try and record an entire episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast with a mask on. I don't know how well this is going to go and I'm just not sure how this is going to turn out. So far, so good. I haven't had many troubles. I mean, I did have to stop the previous recording and take a sip of water, but so far, I'm okay. I'm in my outdoor office. It's a nice fall October day. And it's not that cold. It's actually quite nice. You know, it's warm. I'm wearing a sweater. It's great. Honestly, and the mic and the headset that I happen to be using is the MPAL HC5, I think these are. And it has a boom arm with 2 noise-canceling microphones. I actually really like this thing, considering it's got a boom arm and it's got 2 noise-canceling microphones. That's basically why I bought it, because in my other headsets, people were telling me that it was hard to hear me if I was out in public and it was a bit noisy with the wind and with basically people, around and out and about, or even if there's traffic. But either way, I'll probably give you a review of the MPOW HC5 headset at a later date. I just wanted to try and record an entire episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast with a mask on. I'm not having any trouble whatsoever so far, like I said, other than having to stop and take a sip of water before we got started. And to be fair, I don't know. I'm finding it to be okay, and I'm happy with how it sounds. I don't know, I'll probably have to listen to this back, considering I'm using a Bluetooth headset with a boom arm. I don't know, it's just one of those things that since we started wearing masks, and they kind of became mandatory if you're like going into stores and other places of businesses like restaurants or what have you, you kind of have to, you'd have to wear a mask to enter just because of the way the world is now and just because of certain global situations and the fact that there is a giant sort of issue in the world these days that we all have to abide by. We all have to wear masks and things like that. And of course, I'm wearing my favorite mask, the sort of pseudo Santa beard thing that honestly is my favorite and most popular face mask. See the previous episode on that. I'll probably link it in the description or in the cards if you are listening to this on YouTube. But, I'm not having an issue. It's quite, it fits me well, and I'm assuming, just because I'm looking at the levels, that this is going to be audible, but then again, I'd have to listen to it back. And I'm going to try and just record an episode with a mask on. I'm not going to get into, should you wear a mask? I don't want to wear one, or what. I don't want to get into all that. That's a separate topic that, I really don't want to be a part of. I don't want to bring, any sort of, I don't want to wear one. I do want to wear one. If you want to wear one, wear one. If you don't, don't. But either way, I'm not going to get into that. It's just, I wanted to try and record and see how I would do personally. So far, I'm not having any issues, and I'm hoping this will be audible. I'm hoping that you guys will enjoy it. To be fair, it's a favorable day to be outside. I don't like to be cooped up indoors when I record these episodes, so it's nice to be out here in my outdoor office for the first time in a while. I don't think I've recorded in this space probably since, maybe the 3rd week of March. Yeah, I'd say March. I think March 18th was the last time I actually recorded an episode here. So this is actually quite nice. Today is October 10th, and this is the first time I've actually sat in this space to record an episode since about March 18th. It's actually quite nice, and I figure this episode is strictly for me, just to see if it would work, just to see if it would go, just to see if, I could do this without too much trouble. And to be fair, I haven't really had much trouble at all since we started recording, or since I hit the record button to see how this would work. I really do like this boom arm, and it seems to give me an advantage because I'm not a big fan of wires, even though I might invest in a detachable 3.5 millimeter microphone to make it easier on people who say they can't hear me if the MPOW HD5s don't work as well as I would have liked them to. But, I'll get into the MPOWs at a much later date. Even then, I'm really enjoying the mic. I'm enjoying being out here in my outdoor office. I actually really do like what the Civic Center by my house looks like now. Because as I was growing up, there wasn't much here. And they kind of revitalized the whole space. And it's beautiful. They got picnic tables everywhere. They basically beautified the space. There's beautiful stone pavers everywhere leading up to the door. They've probably redone the steps leading up to the actual building, and they planted trees, and it basically looks like a well-kept garden, if you want to put it that way. It's a well-kept, sort of public garden space. and it looks phenomenal. And getting off topic a little bit as I record this episode with the mask on, the one good thing about having a Bluetooth sort of headset with a boom arm, I can move my head to look around, and I'm not tethered to any sort of device or anything. I'm not tethered to my phone, which is what I'm actually recording this on, and it's really quite nice. That's why I love Bluetooth headsets, to be fair, and the fact that the boom arm comes all the way to my mouth and people can hear me clearly. Dual canceling microphones or noise canceling microphones. I got 2 of them in the boom arm itself. Very nice, and you can still hear me. It's still audible, but I mean, these are just my experiences as of right now, October 10th, recording this episode where I'm just attempting to do this entire episode with the mask on. And I'm having fun doing it. Yes, you probably hear the breeze in the background, and maybe there's some audible noise from the people that are also here behind me with their families, their kids, and like their friends and what have you. But here I'm just sitting at a picnic table by myself, and I'm just trying to get this episode recorded and done and give you my honest opinions and thoughts on how I'm finding recording this entire episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast with a mask on. Like I said earlier, I'm wearing my favorite mask. You will be able to see that in the thumbnail. I will post it when this episode goes live. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably see the thumbnail. So, I mean, you get to see what I look like today when this episode goes live. Probably in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks or so. But I just, really wanted to try this just because the world has been this way for 7 months. I haven't recorded an episode in this space in just about that amount of time. Like I said, today is October 10th, and I haven't recorded in this space since March 18th. So that's nearly a 7-month layoff from my outdoor office. I had to record a lot of these episodes at home in my backyard. But so long as I'm not sort of tethered to a desk and recording from my home office, I feel fine. You know what I mean? There's something about being in my home office where I'm just like, I really don't want to be in here. Like, I know it's my home office, but getting to record outdoors or even outside of my backyard with, a pair of headphones and a microphone, or even, like, whether it's, a Bluetooth headset with a boom arm like the MPOW HD5s, or like I've got a pair of Sony headphones with a mic that kind of just sits against my clothing. I don't care, so long as I'm not like tethered to one room in the house. I feel great. I feel fantastic. I love to move around. I love to get outside. Ask me again how that is with my walker. And February, when the winter really gets here, January, February, that's a bit difficult. From January through March, I'm pretty much going to be, at the house. But like I said, I'm pretty much going to be tethered to the house from like January through March because the winter really kicks in right after Christmas, and it just goes straight through till obviously early spring, because then when spring hits, everything melts, and we all go back to some semblance of like shorts, t-shirts, and what have you, or like proper spring wear, which is pretty much jeans and like, say, button-down shirts or whatever you prefer to wear in the spring. But that's basically a gander into my wardrobe. If you want to see me in winter, it's usually jeans, large sweaters, and knitted caps, or anything like that. Anything to keep me warm, I will bundle up. As I get older, I'm just like, I have to bundle up or I'm going to pretty much, be worn to a nub. In the spring, it's usually like polo shirts or like short sleeve button downs and khakis or jeans or what have you. But right, like I said, from like January through March, I'm pretty much tethered to the house and not a big fan. So if I get to move around, then that is perfect. This episode's going well. I mean, I'm finding it going really well, provided, like, people don't try and call me and interrupt the recording process, even though I'll probably, like, edit this together a little more smoothly. However, like, I'm having a good time, and, I'm not having any issues with the mask or anything, or getting the words out. Like I said, I have to listen to this back, and we're going to see what it sounds like, but I wanted to give you guys sort of a picture of what it would sound like if I were to record an entire episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast with a mask on. And there's no better place to do it than like outdoors in my office. Yes, I'm properly socially distanced because there's like nobody around me. I mean, you're gonna get the odd couple or family in here with their kids or their pets, and they're just gonna be doing their own thing. You might hear them over the mic, who knows? But I'm sitting under a tree at a picnic table at a local civic center, which I lovingly refer to as my outdoor office, and I'm not having any issues. Like, yes, I've had to stop and take sips of water, but that's what the pause button is for. Normally, I don't like to pause the recording, but for certain episodes like this one, I figured, well, you don't want to hear me cough because of my dry throat and really sort of a lack of oxygen, if you want to call it that. But, I mean, it's going well. I'm not having any issues, and I just wanted to see what it would sound like for myself, but I also wanted to have you guys experience it as well, right? And to be fair, like, I'm not going to get into the non-mask debate or the wearing a mask debate. Like, it's a topic I'm never going to cover in any of my podcasts for any of my content. So I'm never going to touch that. Not something I ever want to talk about. It's a dangerous subject, and I really don't feel like stepping into that arena. So what this is just me doing sort of an experiment on myself, for myself, but also putting it out in the form of podcasting for you all. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast, of course, with yours truly, me, Leigh Dickey. I've had a mask on the entire time. I haven't really had any problems. Of course, I'm wearing, I'm using an MPAL HC5 Bluetooth headset with a boom arm that has 2 noise-canceling mics in it, and I'm outdoors. So you let me know what you think of this episode, because, I mean, it's just something I thought would be fun and thought that I should try, and probably I did want to try it anyway. So this wraps up another episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Of course, I have been your host, Leigh Dickey. Please do comment, like, share, and subscribe. Find us on your favorite podcast app and player of choice. Leave us reviews, rate us 5 stars. Get in touch by following along at LeighTDickey on social media, LeighTDickey@gmail.com. And that wraps it up. So thank you all for listening. We will see you all next week. I've been Leigh Dickey. This has been the Beats and Speaks podcast. Again, rate us 5 stars, leave us reviews, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon. And if you're listening to this from Canada, I'm recording this on Thanksgiving weekend, but you guys will probably hear an episode before this. This will probably go up in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks for sure. But before I sign off, happy Thanksgiving to every Canadian. Everybody celebrating, no matter whether you're a Canadian here at home or a Canadian abroad. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a fantastic Turkey Day long weekend, and we will talk to you soon. All right, talk to you later. Leigh Dickey out. Peace. LeighTDickey.com